Germany has been more or less unified for decades. The wall fell in '89, then the Iron Curtain in '91. Politically, however, things have moved a lot slower. Inside Berlin, one of the last battles of the Cold War has only just ended. This is the story of the German police Sommerblouson, a 70s-era bomber jacket that has become one of the most sought-after vintage items in Europe. The Sommerblouson checks all the boxes for a cult hit. Iconic design, limited supply, and one hell of an origin story. It's simultaneously woven into the fabric of German culture and banned from civilian ownership in Germany, an enduring remnant of the Cold War and victim to the monolithic power of the European Union. These days, the Sommerblouson is characterized by its scarcity. Fans search online and off, but finding one takes dedication and a whole lot of luck. However, the story of the jacket begins over a half century ago with the German police. Now, for most of German history, each state was responsible for maintaining and therefore outfitting its own police force. Because of this, uniforms varied and each municipality had its fair share of quirks. Then came 1936. Do we have to say it? We do. Under the Nazi government, local departments merged into a centralized national Polizei, a notorious paramilitary organization led by SS officers. The Polizei would go on to perpetrate massacres throughout occupied Poland. Eager to wipe the slate clean, Allied forces quickly returned policing duties to the German states after the war. Notably, and perhaps admirably missing from the post-World War II landscape, were countrywide police codes. One town's authorities would dress in blue uniforms, and another gray. Some even adopted dark green military uniforms. It was decidedly disorderly, a rare exception for a culture defined by meticulousness and order. The Allies had promised to bring freedom to Europe. In this case, the Americans overshot a little. German shepherds may be colorblind, but for everyone else, tasks as simple as, "Help, someone get the police!" were far from simple. It was obvious that something had to be done, but post-war infrastructure projects proved more necessary. As Germany entered the height of the Marshall Plan era, all eyes were on rebuilding the Autobahn and the re-emerging tourism industry. This kaleidoscope of police clothing persisted for nearly 2 decades. Finally, with the economic miracle alive and self-sustaining, Germany got around to sorting out the police. At the appeal of the German government, Heinz Ostergaard was commissioned to standardize the country's police uniforms. Fashion designer and courtier to the stars, Ostergaard made a uniform unlike any other. Standard yet different, historic yet modern. It was unlike any of the passé police uniforms seen throughout post-war Europe. Ostergaard's brave new look for the National Police debuted at the height of an era defined by wide-leg trousers, beige shag carpets, and porn star stashes. His uniforms are no exception. First was the color. Unlike the rest of Europe, Germany's new police uniforms were neither blue, too French, nor gray, too Russian. Instead, they were Förstergrün, a deep foresty green. Then there were the garments themselves. The basic uniform consisted of 3 pieces: shirt, pants, and jacket, the latter adorned with block letter POLIZEI on the center back. Visible? Yes. Comfortable? Not so much. Officers complained about the stiff, heavy garments and unflattering fits. Notably, the officers' standard patrol trousers were, according to reports, both poorly cut and firm as a tent. In short, there's a reason 70s fashion is only revived ironically. Despite the obvious shortcomings of the uniform, anyone grousing about cuts or colors is missing the Förster for the trees. For better or for worse, the newly outfitted, newly standardized German police stood out. And stand out they did. With the dawn of the Cold War, the eyes of the world were fixed on Berlin. In the chaotic Cold War landscape, Germany's Förstergrün uniforms became synonymous with the good guys. Another idiosyncratic thread in the crazy, chaotic intrigue that so encapsulated the Federal Republic. Cameras captured Olympic Village, Munich Massacre, and Förstergrün Polizei dominated the screen. Reporters gave briefings from Berlin, and Förstergrün Polizei sauntered by in the background. Cartoons of the time even captured the spirit. Loved or hated, there's a certain intangible West Germanness about the Förstergrün uniform. It has become a cultural touchstone, something which will exist in the European subconscious for decades to come. Call it post-Soviet fashion, call it the ugliest era of menswear. Whatever you call it, a certain Cold War nostalgia has gripped the world of apparel. Heinz Ostergaard is long dead, but he would be proud knowing his Polizei gear now commands a spot on Paris runways with high fashion labels like Vêtements riffing on his 50-year-old government work. With tensions building towards a second Cold War, Gorbachev's Europe has found traction in both streetwear and couture. In boutiques, Cyrillic-adorned tees by Gosha Rubchinsky list for close to triple digits. In Vogue, designer Heron Preston showcases NASA jackets and Russian script sweats side by side. There's the aforementioned Vêtements, whose Polizei sweatshirt sells for over $1,000. Even Kanye West has been spotted with Polizei shirts and other German surplus. And it's easy to see the appeal. Say what you will about the Cold War. One thing's for certain. It was a period defined by unprecedented economic and technological growth, unrivaled national solidarity, and patriotism. As bad as the threat of nuclear annihilation was, the enemy was known and clearly defined in the public consciousness. In a postmodern world defined by intangible threats, indiscriminate violence, and shifting identities, the Cold War is a comfort blanket for the confused West. And now that Cold War II electric boogaloo is shaping up to dominate the geopolitical zeitgeist, it's fitting that items from a simpler time would be looked upon with a renewed fondness or nostalgia. As designers riff on the visual codes of this bygone era, genuine vintage apparel becomes both democratizing and differentiating. Russian gear, while cool, carries a certain stigma throughout the West because of, well, communism. Contemporary German gear, however, perceived as sophisticated and aligned with Western values. It's in this context that Förstergrün has achieved cultural significance. Inside the German police, the standard issue summer weight patrolling jacket is known as the Sommerblouson. On fashion sites, blogs, and image boards, the jacket is known by a different name. Fuck, I've wanted this for ages. Modeled after the iconic American MA-1 bomber jacket, the Sommerblouson is a forest green bomber jacket emblazoned with reflective Polizei lettering across the center back. As a garment, it's simple, well-constructed, and slightly oversized, occupying the same practical anti-fashion space that defines the workwear trend sweeping the 2020s via the Dickies and Carhartt's catalogs. As a style piece, it mixes both enduring shapes and current trends into something that is refreshingly novel. The lion's share of that novelty? Simply put, the jacket is scarce. Once in a blue moon, a Sommerblouson will appear, a 4chan fashion board thread or on a Grailed listing, even on actress Sky Ferreira. As soon as it does, a frenzy ensues. Multilingual Googling commences. Image boards pop up with links dead and alive. Whether decried as a meme jacket or sought as the subject of Venmo bribes, one constant about Sommerblouson frenzies will endure. That stupid fucking jacket will remain so goddamn hard to find. It's a predictable cycle. Sommerblouson resurfaces, the stock instantly vanishes, and one of the Cold War's most sought-after vintage pieces inches closer to extinction. Why the Förstergrün famine? As with most wonky scenarios involving Germany, you can thank the good old European Union for that. In 1998, the EU issued a recommendation to all member states, calling on them to standardize all police uniforms to an internationally recognized dark blue. It made sense on paper. The Schengen free travel area meant more intra-European movement than ever before. A universal standard would ensure everyone, regardless of nationality or language, would be able to quickly seek help from the local authorities. Besides, Brussels argued that many EU members, Britain, France, etc., already use the dark blue color. The rest were merely a convention best reserved for middle managers and high school guidance counselors recommended to switch. Heeding the EU's friendly nudge, the first German police departments waived Aufwiedersehen to their forest green uniforms in 2004. Even by 1998, Östergörd's design was showing its age, not just in cut, but in function. To a certain degree, modernization was needed. However, many felt that giving up the beloved green uniforms was too steep a price to pay. For many Germans, the EU recommendation was simultaneously patronizing and entirely tone-deaf. Over the years, the Förstergrün uniform had been inexorably linked to the liberation of East Germany. It was in many ways a symbol of the resilience of the German people and the triumph of the Western world against the evils of communism. Spain and Italy had also gone to bat to preserve historic uniforms. Why should Germany, the economic engine of the EU itself, back down? Although many German states quickly succumbed to the EU mandate, two states, Bavaria and Saarland, held out. And so, decades after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a bureaucratic Cold War was declared. Bavaria, the Texas of Germany, slow-rolled the uniform process through internal uniform committees and statewide votes. As the rest of the country rolled their eyes at Southern stubbornness, both citizens and government alike took a stand for local identity. After all, the state's rural police, the Feldgendarmerie, I needed help with that one, had worn green since their founding post-Napoleon. For Bavarians, it was a matter of heritage. Saarland, a state famous for its live and let live mentality, took an entirely different approach. Unlike Bavaria, Saarland's police simply didn't change. While the Bavarians puffed out their chests, the Saar performed the political equivalent of a vacation out of office auto-reply. This battle of wills, a Cold War over Cold War uniforms, lasted close to a decade. Then, in 2013, Saarland threw in the towel. Citing the unreasonable cost of new limited quantity green uniforms when the rest of the country had gone blue, Germany's smallest police force officially retired Östergörd's designs. 2 years later, Bavaria pulled all 27,000 members of its police force. After a majority decision, it too announced it was switching colors. The conflict was over. 46 years after their introduction, the last Förstergrün uniforms were retired from service. In the ensuing months, Bavaria and Saarland would unceremoniously begin the process of liquidation, handing over their stock to the German Public Auction Authority and ordering blue. KommandoStore launched in 2013 out of a basement in St. Paul, Minnesota. At heart, we're a military surplus store. As KommandoStore has grown, we've found a lot of stories to tell. Goodness knows we've been lucky enough on that front. But luck only goes so far. Supply dries up, countries get embargoed, war breaks out. Sometimes we're just decades late to the party. Year after year, we are upping our commitment to revivals. This means well-researched, long-form content focusing directly on what we're most passionate about. It means working with the original manufacturers of iconic military items, preserving things that would otherwise fade into obscurity. It started with Sommerblouson, remanufactured in Germany by the same company who supplied Bavaria and Saarland until the bitter end. Where the revivals end, well, it's up to you. Faulkner said it best. The past is never dead. It's not even past. As you could probably tell, we put a lot of passion into this project to bring this little jacket back from grailed obscurity to where it belongs. After months in development and production, we're ecstatic that they're finally in the warehouse and clone correct down to the fabric blend on the cuffs. If you want something that might as well be the original, minus a few decades of storage patina, visit commandostore.com/bomber to pick up the iconic piece for yourself while supplies last.